All right, hey guys, Ben here from Dude Quest, and this video is about a feeling that tortured me and still does, but to a lesser degree. But it really, how many reallys can I throw on there? Really tortured me as a guy in my early 20s, especially when I came to be about 24, 25, somewhere in there. And the feeling is the feeling that I'm running out of time. I don't have enough time left to put my life on a trajectory to accomplish my dreams. I'll never get what I want. It's too late for me. I need to just settle into a career that I didn't want, a life that's smaller than I'd hoped, all those things. Core thing being, I feel like I'm running out of time. And definitely there are videos and there's content out there on this this new phenomenon of the quarter life crisis of being in college, fresh out of college, a couple years past graduation, basically in the age range of 22 to 25, even if you didn't go to college, but as a framework, that life is not all put together. Uh you don't have the relationship you want. You're not living in a house that's yours, blah 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 blah, right? Dreams as of yet unachieved, and the feeling that because that's the case, that they're never going to happen. And man, it's a bad feeling. It really sucks. I was driven so mad by it, especially because I had done things that did and still do set me back on the path towards the things that I want. And by setbacks, I mean years. I'm not talking about, "Oh, I made a mistake. It'd take me a couple weeks to recover from that. I shouldn't have spent that money, blah, blah, blah." I'm talking years. If you've seen my video about the house, like that's a 6 to 7 year mistake in terms of, finances and that kind of thing. And I've made others in that same direction. And yeah, anyway, it's a bad feeling. So, but I want to give some comfort because I've had to work on this a lot for myself, especially in light of the fact that I have made mistakes that have cost me time, as opposed to if I had done everything perfect, if I was like some kind of superhuman, which I am certainly not. So, um, I just want to, it's almost a video to myself, honestly. And I just hope that the way I've had to think through this and make peace with this can help you along the same path and doing the same. So I have my notepad here so I don't miss any key points. But my jumping off point for this one is that is actually a video from um, an older, wiser man than me. I'm quite young and unwise, so take everything I say for what it's worth. But uh, this man Dwayne, who runs the YouTube channel Dry Creek Wrangler School, has a video called "When You Just Ain't Got It All Figured Out" or something like that. It's one of his top videos. You should be able to find it if you go to his channel. And the whole point that he's making in that video is, you know, exactly what I said at the outset, which is you might not feel like you have the income or the property or the relationship or whatever. There's some set of unachieved things in your life, and that might make you feel like you just ain't got it all figured out, and somehow everyone else does, and they're beating you, and you're losing the race of life, and what a tragedy that is to be you. And he just comes right out and says it. He's like, even him in his later 50s still doesn't have it all figured out. He's still making foolish decisions that are costing him time and money and causing him quite some heartache, is what it sounds like. He doesn't go into too many specifics, but um and it's just true. I mean, I think you have this experience when you step into the real world as an adult. I had this experience in business. You expect big companies, successful entrepreneurs, these people to be almost robotic in their perfection. You think that they must just be unbeatable machines because they are achieving so much, and the outer face that they show to the world is so polished. And then you get inside a big corporation or you talk to a successful entrepreneur and you meet these people in real life, and they are just as chaotic, if not more chaotic than the people you know in your personal life. The big corporations, um, and I know this from firsthand and secondhand experience. Big corporations are wildly dysfunctional almost as a rule. Wildly dysfunctional. It's a miracle. It's a miracle that big companies function at all. The entrepreneurs that you see online with their course or their e-commerce brand or whatever, like, sure, maybe they've made money. There's also a decent chance they're lying or that they're representing it. They're showing a very brief window where things were super good. And other than that, it hasn't been that way. And also, it's like this idea that they're not still experiencing challenges. They have to put a good outer face up. Otherwise, their marketing and stuff wouldn't work. And that's just the way it is. But we're all pretending that we have things figured out. No one does. I mean, some people do to like more or less degrees, but truly, 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 I don't believe there's a single person walking the face of planet Earth that has every category of life figured out and solved the way that they'd like to have it. And even if you have helpful frameworks, even if you are a disciplined person or you have achieved a lot, it's constant maintenance. Life is not the set it and forget it thing. It's a daily walk. And we're always becoming more or less of the person that we would like to be. And I think that the encouragement I have today that we'll dig more into as I keep going here is that just become a little bit more of the person you want to be. A little bit at a time. Find that direction, spend time with yourself so that you know what that direction is, then just become that person a little bit more every day. And maybe not even every day. You're going to have days where you go backwards, and that's okay. Holy moly, is that okay? I have personally beaten myself up. My wife and I were talking about this last night. We sat on the couch and talked about this for like 2 hours last night because I felt like I'm in a place in my life where I don't feel particularly grounded in the direction that I'm heading, or at least I don't. I've had the sense recently that I don't have traction with the ground in terms of making steady progress in the direction that I want to be heading. I felt that last night. It, you know, it's just something that happens. But we talked about it. We talked about it a lot. And the truth is that if I look back on where I've come in the last year, the last 2 years, the man that I am today is a significantly improved version of myself than the man I was a year ago or 2 years ago. Way stronger, way more grounded. And it's just this feeling is going to crop up from time to time, and it's going to crop up especially in times of big transition. And especially in times when you feel worn out, and especially times where you didn't get the reward from all the effort that you put in that you thought you were going to get. Um, we're always in some kind of cycle of deconstruction and renewal, in our lives, and it's just the truth. And I just don't. I would really hope that you don't feel afraid of the feeling of running out of time, because it just means that you're in a transition period or in a period of growth, or that there's some new lesson for you to unlock in your life that's going to help you keep taking the next right step. And the one thing I would look back and tell myself too, is that, if you're in your early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, I'm 28, right? Um, the whole idea that we're supposed to have things figured out, you know, especially coming out of college 4 years ago, or possibly less, possibly slightly more, you were in high school. You were just a kid. Just a kid. We don't know anything when we're 18. We barely know anything when we're 22. And the whole idea that somehow we're supposed to graduate college and 3 years later at 25 have everything figured out, 3 years is not a long time, especially early on. I mean, I look back at the things I blame myself for not having at 22, 23, 24, 25. I don't even want those things anymore. They're not even on my priority list. Like, n not only did I not have things figured out, not only do I still not have things figured out, handful of years ago, I didn't even know what I wanted to have figured out. Like, you just gotta live. I would hold really tightly to my goals, and they'd be very specific goals, you know? I was totally nuts, and, like, I was 20, and I was like, "If I'm not making $1,000,000 cash by 25, I'm a failure." And then every year I took a step forward, I almost felt like I was getting further away from my goals, and I revised them down. "Okay, by 25, I wanna make 6 figures. Okay. Okay, how about I just get a job? How about I just get a job that pays a little bit more than what I'm doing now?" You know? Um, like, I took an internship in college paying $11 an hour. You can go be a McDonald's cashier right now with a lot less hassle in the application process, make 15, 16, 18, $20 an hour depending on your location, and that's a better starting point than where I was. Um, it's, I don't know, it just I have felt this so intensely, and I really beat myself up over it, and I think I was stressed about achieving my goals to the point that I was on the border of developing ulcers. Like, no joke, I was having, like, involuntary twitches in my gut and my shoulders and, like, it was not good. Um, and all because I didn't, like, conquer the world by 25, like, it's a little bit silly. It's a little bit silly. And, so let's pick back up on the thread. If you're young, and I'm young, I'm not like some wise sage. It is not incumbent upon you to have it all figured out, to have everything that you wanna have for life to be perfect. It could be the case very easily that some experiences are gonna come along in your life that are gonna change your priorities. They did for me, and I'm sure it'll happen again, certainly. And so, the way I have come to terms with this is I no longer have specific goals. I don't have an income goal by the end of 2025. I'm not setting New Year's resolutions. I don't have fitness goals. I don't have, like, I have things that I would like to do or visions of the future in my head that are directions, but I've given up on SMART goals, quite frankly, and some people are not gonna like that. It's very anti-hustle culture, it's very anti-productivity mindset, but in my experience, it's been way more peaceful, and I've achieved more than I thought I could have anyway, just by picking a direction and pursuing it, and it has been my experience, and I don't know if this is the same for everybody else, but by living intentionally, sometimes it feels like time is standing still. The amount of things that happen as a result of being intentional with your time, or at least what I've experienced from being intentional in my time, is that I've taken so many steps forward in so many different areas of life. Professionally, personally, I play guitar a little bit, and my playing has gotten infinitely better this year, and all of it's been fun. It's all been a joy, and I haven't had the stress hanging over me of trying to hit these benchmarks that I was enforcing on myself. And, I was to the point where I was tracking my daily stats in a spreadsheet and scoring my days on a scale of 1 to 10, and then reviewing the trend line of my weeks over time, over years. And I did that up until maybe 15 months ago, a little over a year ago. I scored my days and tracked it in a spreadsheet for years. That is super obsessive and unhelpful. Um, and if you're doing any kind of version of that, I would just man, like, just pursue the person you wanna be and make it fun, you know? Like, doesn't mean it's not work, doesn't mean that your brain won't get tired or that you'll wanna not do it some days, but just work the things that you care about into your life a little bit at a time, and just follow the path. The path is gonna take you wherever it's gonna go, um, and you'll be delighted and surprised by the things that crop up along the way, you know? Um, Part of the problem of setting these goals is like I said earlier, one, you might not even know what you truly want until experience teaches you that, and that's certainly been the case for me. I'm totally willing to admit that I'm at the mercy of future me to know better and, to be a smarter person. And, and the other thing too is, like, if you're persistent and patient with a direction, who cares if it doesn't happen next year or the year after? You know, there's even my hope in recording these videos is that I'm planting the seeds for something that's gonna be here in 10 or 20 years. This me recording these videos is for me, I actually have to overcome a lot of, like, personal insecurity and fear of putting my thoughts out there to the world, and, like, however many people watch this video is what it is, but, um, I'm hoping that I'm building the skill set of teaching and that I'm teaching things that are valuable, and that this can be enough of a resource to people that I could pursue this for 10, 20 years, even if it's just a little side project that I find meaning. Um, and my point in saying that is that there's time to accomplish things in your 30s, 40s, 50s, even in your 60s. I mean, maybe in your 70s you can argue you wanna slow down and kind of, like, smell the roses a little bit, but people have accomplishments, tremendous accomplishments. People go from 0 to hero much, much later in life, you know? I think it's, and there are lots of examples of that. We could go through it. You know, the probably the most extreme example would be someone like Warren Buffett, who was, like, not on anybody's radar until he was at least in his 50s, I believe. I could have that wrong, but you can double check me. Um, but look at a lot of the people who have big shows and podcasts and things, you know, like, Andrew Huberman, right? He's one of the biggest podcasts. And he's in his 40s or 50s, and his whole thing has just blown up in the last handful of years. It's not like he's been around a long time. He's been doing research and planting those seeds to become the person that he is now on the scale that he is, but, um, that didn't happen overnight. And, I'm personally encouraged when I'm willing to play the tape forward longer than I want to, longer than my sense of gratification wants me to. And, it doesn't take big steps over longer periods of time to end up where you want to be. And I just think that we have been completely duped into thinking that we need to have it figured out in our 20s or that it's even good to. Um, and also fooled by the fact that other people might. You know, everyone has things that they're dealing with. No one has it perfect. And just because someone can take a couple extra trips that look cool and make a bunch of posts on Instagram about it, it doesn't reflect the rest of their life. It doesn't reflect the state of their internal peace. It doesn't reflect the quality of the relationships in their life. It doesn't reflect the kind of fulfillment that they get from their work. It doesn't reflect their spending habits, even if they make a good income. It doesn't reflect anything other than that they were in that place and posed for that picture. So, um, and take it from someone who has worked in personal branding and stuff. Like, my job used to be manufacturing this image for people. You know, like I know the game. It's not some mystery. Seriously. Um, the other thing that I believe is that life can change very quickly. Um, Many times in my life, I have struggled for months or years towards something that I wanted, and then all of a sudden it happened all once, right? Like am taking marketing courses and working on projects and failing. Holy moly, have I spent and wasted money and failed and fallen flat on my face. And there was a marketing coach I learned this term from. I'm not sure where it's originally from, but it's called the popcorn effect. You're putting the inputs in, you're pursuing something, and then one day, pop, the kernel pops and you have the thing, or you get the breakthrough opportunity that has been waiting for you. And I just believe that is real, and that if you are willing to just walk in a particular direction and take and follow the path and overcome the challenges, your internal emotional challenges with dealing with where you're at and the external challenges that you got to overcome to take the next step. I mean, if you just walk that path, one day it will click. It will happen. And I just believe that. And I don't know what to say other than I just believe that because I've seen it too many times and I've experienced it. Um, so I think the worst thing that any of us can do is to let the fear of running out of time prevent us from starting. And that's the whole adage of plant a tree, best time to do it yesterday, today, not tomorrow. So, but I think the thing is that we put too much pressure on ourselves to have it perfect and to have it right and to do a great job. Um, and we put that pressure on ourselves because we're afraid of failing. We're afraid of being embarrassed. We're afraid of the shame of putting ourselves out there. I'm afraid of the shame of making this video. I'm terrified of what you guys are going to think, of what people are going to put in the comments. I'm afraid of failing. I am. Um, and I'm terrified of judgment. But it feels like a worthwhile thing to do. And this is the direction I want to head in my life. And so I'm taking baby steps. I sit down for 25 minutes, record a video, send it out. No one might see this. I might not be great at the YouTube algorithm thing yet, but I'll figure it out. We'll get there. Whoever sees this video hopefully is getting something out of it, and that's enough. It's enough for now. Doesn't matter. And I don't know, it's okay to fail. Seriously, it's okay to fail. I have completely lost everything multiple times in multiple categories of my life. And you got to pick yourself back up. You got to keep going. It's okay. It's okay to fail. It is more impressive to me when someone is unashamed of their current circumstances and who has the courage to accept failure. That's a bigger deal to me than someone who has it figured out and who got lucky or whatever, It is courageous. I mean, like, there is no courage if you don't expect pain or failure or fear or challenge. What is courage if you think that it's just a stroll through the meadow? You know? Um, like, you gotta be brave. And you don't have to be brave in the same way that humans used to a lot, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's real. The feeling of fear is real. Um, and the feeling that you've lost to time, you have to have the courage to move against time anyway. Otherwise, it's a thief. You know, you can control the direction that you move in. You can control how time serves you rather than feeling defeated and destroyed by time itself. And I think it's virtuous to have hope that things can work out, even if it doesn't make sense to hope that. Irrational hope to me is a virtuous thing. Because what's the alternative? Like cynical realism? I don't have these skills. It's going to take me time to build these skills. I don't know anybody who can help me. The deck is stacked against me. Like, you might have all the facts correct, but so what? So what? You can get an internet connection. You can spend your time putting different things in your head. You can learn a skill. You can be persistent. Have hope. Be courageous. Don't fear time. And don't beat yourself up because you put some goals down on paper that might have been unreasonable. And don't feel ashamed or like you've lost yourself because your priorities might have changed. We have time in life for the things that matter most. You just do, even if it's not easy. It's okay. And maybe the biggest thing is just learning to enjoy the time that you do spend. Enjoy it. It's okay. You can enjoy the struggle, you know, because if you engage with the struggle, you will overcome it. Eventually, you will. You just have to be humble enough and look deep enough inside of yourself and be persistent enough, humble enough to ask for help, reflective enough to get you out of your own way, right? And just persistent enough to keep going. We just had to replace the furnace here at the house. It was painfully expensive, but the salesman who came in, and this could have just been a closing tactic, but I appreciated the lesson anyway, that we don't take anything with us out of this life. And so why do we judge ourselves by the things that we're supposed to accomplish financially? It's like, again, it's all like the superficial things that we think that we ought to have. We are just all on some kind of path. And there's always the next lesson that we need to learn to take the next step on the path that we want to be on. And those lessons can suck. They can really hurt, but they're really worthwhile and they're really fulfilling. And it brings a lot of peace when you overcome them. Um, and that's been my experience. So, you know, when I was young, I wanted to change the world. I wanted to be some big, successful, famous business guy. And I wanted to, you know, I felt like I was a world beater and I had infinite potential. And that if I was anything less than, a multimillionaire with the big mansion with the supermodel wife, whatever, right? Like all the things that people will stack up in whatever category, right? Like, I don't know. I needed to have the biggest charitable impact possible. And just like, I was very, very pumped up on like the self help, self improvement stuff. And it's like, we don't need to change the world. It's not like we don't need to have a messiah complex to live a worthwhile life that's meaningful. Like, don't change the world, just like improve yours. Pay a little extra attention to the cashier at Walmart, you know, call your grandparents, send a message to your parents. And if you have bad relationships with these folks, like, I don't know. I'm not living your life, but like, certainly there's someone in your world. Say hi to your neighbor, be friendly, help an old lady cross the street. That kind of presence helps a lot with making the small things feel worthwhile. And it helps a lot in terms of kind of restoring your energy to take on the big things that you want to take on. So you're not running out of time. You don't have to have it all figured out. You'll figure out the things that you're supposed to figure out if you just move forward with some intention and you're willing to have hope, even if it doesn't make sense, and that you have the courage to overcome your fear and to face failure. It's all right. So that's it for this one. I think we're going to leave it there. And I hope this was helpful. Um, yeah, I hope this was helpful. So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.